a really nice practice is to slow down and put attention on how can I belong to myself. Promise is I'm not going to leave me. I'm not going to abandon myself. I'm not going to put myself down. The belonging starts here. I go first.
Hi, and welcome to Don't Shrink to Fit podcast. This podcast is all about you and all the courageous, driven women like you. We are here to inspire, to empower, to share, and to embrace one another. We will be talking with women from different backgrounds and careers about love, family, friendship, their wins and falls, and what it took for them to live the life they love. I am your host, Claudia Noriega-Bernstein, and I am so happy you're here today. Hi, Rachel. Thank you so much for being in the Don't Shrink to Fit podcast. I am so thrilled to have you here. I love to talk about empowerment and women and everything that can help women out there be a better version of themselves. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And not only do I love the topic, but I love the name of the podcast. I mean, it says so much.
I think to an extent we're conditioned to shrink, right? And fit whatever the world, our parents, everybody else tell us to be, and somehow we get domesticated to become that. So I love when I have the opportunity to work with my clients and show them that other side that is available also for them. So I love what you do. And I have watched you in a couple of interviews and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, this girl is in my tribe. I love that.
Thank you.
So I wanted to start talking about policies because I know you don't call them boundaries, you call them policies. And boundaries is something that everybody uses. But when I heard you talk about policies, I thought it was less confrontational to an extent and more welcoming to just say, these are my policies. So how did you come up with that?
Well, I came up with it by borrowing it from someone I love so much. She's a brilliant coach. Her name is Gina Gabellini. And one day she said, she was coaching me and she just said, well, why don't you just like make a policy about that? And it was nothing to her. And to me, it was like, this is so relieving to call it a policy. It makes it so less personal for the person who would like a new policy and the person receiving it, right? And so I thank Gina for that. And I use it a lot. It makes it more fun and malleable.
Yeah, because it's either boundaries or rules, right? That's what we are wired to think. But when you talk about policies, it's softer. It's like, okay, well, those are my policies, and you have the freedom to either comply or not. And if you don't, then I guess we can be in the same place together, or we cannot work together, or whatever comes after that. So I thought it was brilliant. Listening to you talking to Anna, which I only heard the first part of it, as I said to you, and you said you don't do anything before noon. I started laughing because I make appointments with myself. And I always tell people I don't work 24/7. I work 24/5. But those were always my boundaries, but now I'm going to call them policies. So I love that. And are you like that in everything in your life?
I mean, I do my best. I'm a human and I can get obsessed about things and I can start working too hard. And I have this trick that I love to do, which is if I find myself in a moment of stress, I just silently ask myself, am I having a good time? I just say, am I having a good time? And when we're not having a good time, we know it.
Right.
And if the answer is no, then I just know it's time to stop doing something, shift, slow down, take a break, rest. And I do try to build in policies that make my life beautiful.
Right.
And I'll also say, I think integrity is so important. And so to me, part of the integrity of the work I do, and the work I do, I love helping brilliant leaders, but I especially love helping brilliant women leaders. So to me, part of the integrity is how do I help someone really create a life that they actually love for real on the inside so that the insides feel even better than the outsides look? Well, the first way as coaches that we do that is we have to do it here. We have to go first. And so I like to remind myself that every good thing I do for me, I'm doing for me as a leader so that I can come to you and say, yeah, you can have it your way. You can absolutely have it the way you want it.
Yeah. I was reading a book the other day and it says, you don't need to motivate anyone, you have to inspire them. And it totally was an aha moment because as coaches, we always think we got to motivate. We have these words that in a way we inherit, right, from other coaches. And we're like, we have to do this and we have to do that. And that goes with the boundaries and the motivation and the blah, blah, blah. But when you start changing the words in the conversation, it makes more sense. I am a rule follower in a lot of ways, but I also have my own policies. So it works with me. Today I was having a live with another coach. We do it every Wednesday. We talk about different topics. And I said to her, I inherit a lot of conditions from my mom and how to be a mom. And these are the rules how to be a mom. But I had to take a step back when I had my first daughter and realize what it is that I needed when I was a kid. What were the voids? Because I don't want my kid to have those same voids. And if I follow that pattern, that's exactly what I'm going to give to her. She's going to receive exactly what I received. And yes, she might be a different human and might have different needs, but some voids that I have were very big. So I'm not going to just follow those rules. I'm going to create my own, and I'm going to create my own way, the best version, the best mom that I know at that moment how to be. And I might be a different kind of mom with my second one and a completely different one with my third one. And that's okay, because there is also no rule that tells me that I have to be the same mom with my three girls, because they have different needs to begin with. So I love that you said that, because it also made me think about what I am learning every day and how to become a better human and be an avatar for other people instead of trying to just motivate them. It's more fulfilling for me to begin with.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes I've used in the past when I'm working with women that are also moms, this idea that the more you take care of you, the more you model that for your little ones.
Yeah.
And then it's very empowering and it's very inspiring for those of us who feel motivated by being in service. But at the same time, at the same time, one day I realized that for me, even more inspiring than making choices to take care of ourselves for our children or the people who are watching us is simply to make choices because it's what you want, period. And that's really what I want to encourage everyone to do, is not to worry about being selfish. You're not going to be selfish. Selfishness actually comes from being depleted. It comes from lack. It comes from a sense of not enough. And we could have millions of dollars in the bank and still feel like we're not enough, or that's not enough, or it's not enough. But the more we are generous with ourselves, the more we are naturally generous with everyone else.
Yes, I agree 100%. How are you going to give if your cup is empty? You have to start with you. And when I coach mom, that's the first thing I go to. What are you doing for yourself? Are you happy with yourself? Do you look at yourself in the mirror and say, you're beautiful, I love you, I'm so proud of you? Do you do that? Because how is your daughter going to feel that if you're saying things like, I'm so clumsy, I'm so stupid, I look so fat? That's what they're going to emulate. That's the role model you're showing for them. So how about we shift that a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yes.
One of the things I hear you say was, I allow everything and accommodate very little. And I loved that because that's like being in a buffet in the world and say, okay, that, and that, and now I'm full. I don't want anything else.
I love that you brought that up, because I was just thinking about that policy when, and also it's also a paradigm, we can call it that, when we were talking about policy. So I want to back up for 1 second and say,
Sure.
policies sometimes, it depends like how it resonates with you. So sometimes when I first heard the word policies years ago, it felt kind of like rules. These are the policies we follow. But I think you can feel energetically when you and I are saying it, we don't actually mean it in a rules kind of way. We mean it in a more lighthearted, soft, this is how it is for me. This is like, I'm a stand for this, but I don't have to argue with you about anything. I don't need to be dramatic about anything. And so it goes very well with this idea of allow everything, accommodate very little. I came up with that by being coached by another brilliant coach, John Patrick Morgan. I think he came up with that on his own, although he likes to say that we all came up with that together when we were all working together, but it's his. And I love it because there's this nuance about it that I think is really worth noting. When we say allow everything, what I mean and what I invite us to mean is that anyone can ask for anything. Practicing this has softened me so much because when we don't have good, I'll use the B word, boundaries or policies, we get upset when people start asking for too much. The reason why we get upset is because really what's happening is it's like, oh no, now I have to muster the courage to say something or to have a boundary. It's really that is what upsets us. It's not the asking. So now what I do is when people ask me for things, I always tell them, I'm so glad you asked. And I mean it sincerely. I want you to ask for every freaking thing you want. Because now inside of me, I'm grounded with, I allow everything and I accommodate very little.
Right.
I can
You get to
allow it on the
choose.
inside. Exactly. But I don't
You
have
get
to
to
stop
choose.
anybody else from asking or doing whatever they want to do.
So you get your power back right there.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
saying, okay, I get to choose. Thank you. Thank you. I'm curious to know what it is that you want. And now I'm going to tell you what am I willing to deliver. Pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that. And is that the secret of happiness? Because I want to talk about your book, How to Love Yourself in Less Than a Week and also for the rest of your life. But in that whole sentence, I want to put the word happiness because I think that everything comes from you. And when you love yourself and you feel that you're enough and you're worthy of everything, you're happy because you're not craving really for nothing that you cannot have. You see possibility in everything, correct?
Oh, that's such a really bright, smart way to say it. So, yes. And I don't want to negate the fact that we're relational people. We like to have our connections. I think there's a myth, I don't know, I just want to break it right here. That's like you have to love yourself in order to have a partner that loves you well. And I'm going to say, no, not necessarily. We're all on a path and we're all works in progress. I mean, my husband and I, we've been together for 20 years. And
Same here.
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And my ability to love myself now is 1,000 kajillion times greater than it was when we met. But this guy loved me then and loves me now. So I also want to actually take the pressure off of people that you have to love yourself before you can have XYZ. And rather, and this is part of why I wrote the book, I wanted to make it simple and easy and fast and lighthearted and joyful. I mean, if you just do one thing every day, one tiny thing, like buy the expensive blueberries or, just or say no to something you don't want to do, like one sweet thing, you will change the trajectory of your life and you will get all the benefits of loving yourself by practicing the actions that you would take if you were totally and completely loving yourself.
I love that. I used to tell my girls when they were little, you get to instead of you have to, and put the power on them. That's your choice. You get to go to school. You don't have to go to school. You get to go to school. And how amazing it is that you have that opportunity. Then you can learn something and you can be with your friends and you can be proud of yourself because you achieve something or you have a good grade or you work hard on something and you see how you say, the reward of doing it. So you get to do all those things. You don't have to do anything. No, you don't want to go to school, don't. I actually had a whole conversation with my youngest one once about going to school and her saying, I don't want to go to school. And I said, okay, you don't have to. Then I went into, this is what happened if you don't, then you're never gonna be able to have a job or a business and you probably end up homeless and you probably blah, 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 blah. And I go, so if you don't want to, that's fine. I mean, you get to go to school or you don't. And she goes, I'm going. Great. But that was also helping her understand, that everything has a consequence. And although you get to do this or that, your choice is what's going to determine what consequence, positive or negative, is going to come to you. The ball is on your corner. What do you want to do? I want to go to school. Great. I think it's so important to give that power to kids. And oftentimes I talk to moms because I work with moms and they talk to their kids like if they're second-class citizens, like you don't get to decide anything. I said so. And I grew up like that. Stop crying. Do what I tell you because I said so, whatever. I don't believe in that. Although I believe that our hierarchies I always say you have hierarchies even in heaven, right? And I'm your mom. So at the end of the day, I'm going to be the one making the choice that I believe is best for you. I want to hear what you have to say. I want your feedback. I want to take in consideration your feelings. How do you feel? And why do you feel this way? So then when I make the decision that is going to involve the four of us, because I was a single mom for a long period of time, and before I met my husband, I wanted them to feel as a part of a whole, not just me making the decisions and you just go with it and your emotions are not valid for me. I want to hear it. And the decision I'm going to make, I want you to trust me that I'm going to make that decision because I truly believe in my heart that this is the best choice for us. And you might not like it. And I understand, and I'm sorry. And let's sit with your feelings for a little bit to see why it is that it's triggering you to be so resistant. But at the end of the day, I'm the adult. But I never erased their emotions. I never shut them down. I never said, I don't care how you feel. This is what we're doing because I said so. And it's so important to raise kids like that and to teach them that, so then they're adults that also care for other people's emotions and acknowledge them and validate them. You don't have to agree with their emotions, but you get to validate them. And I think that's important.
Agreed.
So tell me more about your book. What is your book about? What do you give in that book?
The book, it's kind of like a children's book for adult women. It's very sweet. It's got doodles and pictures, and it's very readable. I know a lot of us feel busy, and I like the idea of being able to give high impact with a very little amount of time. And so the book is really like a step-by-step guide and a hug and a permission giver for exactly what you can do to practice loving yourself in a very real way, in a very easy way. And then the results are that you start living a life that is more authentic and more generous with yourself, more loving with yourself, more money comes in. I think money is a really important piece of all of this, and abundance is a really important piece because the more generous we are with ourselves or kinder to ourselves, whatever words resonate, our capacity to receive increases. Taking is very different. It's such a different phenomenon than receiving. We take when we're feeling needy, but we receive when we're practicing feeling worthy, like we can contain more and more goodness coming our way. And the more we do that, the more money flows into our life.
Yeah, but sometimes it's hard to receive. And I'm saying this, I don't have a problem now receiving, but for many years, I couldn't even receive a compliment. Like I will brush it off. So people would come and say, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. And I would go, I wouldn't even say thank you. I would, like a panic attack will happen. Or somebody would say, I love your dress. Oh, I got it in Ross. Or I got it what so I would like bring it down, whatever it was that people would
Shrink.
tell me. Yeah, I would totally deflate that compliment. It was probably because I didn't think I was worthy of that compliment. And I see that more in women. They don't have a problem. Women, in the majority, when we receive a compliment, we don't own it. We don't receive it. And it wasn't until I went to an emotional intelligence seminar that one of the coaches actually gave me a compliment and I brushed it off. And she goes, no, wait. And she stopped me. And she goes, did you hear me? And I said, yeah. And she goes, how's it feel? And I was put on the spot because I was raised with the belief that to be loved, I had to be certain way. And why are you giving me a compliment if I didn't do anything to deserve it? So I can accept your compliment. Maybe you're just being nice, but it might not be true. That was my mind process at that moment. Why do you think women have such a hard time receiving compliments?
I will tell you, this is really important. So we all need three things all the time. And in the background, there's something operating inside of us to make sure that we're getting the best that we can of these three things. And the three things are love, safety, and belonging. And so you name the culture. Most of us in any culture have this similarity, which is we're afraid on some level, if we shine too bright, we will be disliked. It'll be seen as arrogant. And many, many years ago, one of the earliest forms of punishment was to cast people out of the group. That was one of the first forms. And people would die from this because, you know, the saying, I was like dying of shame, like shame and death. It's, I know it's really heavy, but the reason why I'm bringing us there is to be way more gentle with ourselves for why we do it. Why we do it is because we want to feel loved, we want to feel safe, and we want to feel like we belong. And so it actually does take practice and courage to decide that I'm going to make feeling good about myself and being real about all the things that are wonderful about me more important than being loved, safe, or belonging. Because eventually we will be with the right people. The more we be who we really are, the more we will attract people who love us, help us feel safe, and help us feel like we belong. We belong to each other. We feel safe with each other. We love ourselves and each other when we can be real and have the courage to not shrink.
Right, right. And that's what I name actually my podcast like that, because that was always the common denominator. We shrink to fit whatever we think we should be or fit in that block that the world decided we're supposed to be, and we lose our authenticity. And with that, I mean, saying this also, I feel that oftentimes we are afraid as humans to be authentic because we think we have to be somebody else to be able to feel like if we belong, but we really don't need to feel that we belong or not. We either belong or we don't. It's not a feeling. It's not if I do A, B, and C, I'm going to feel I belong. No, that's fitting in. That's like if you do A, B, and C, then you're going to fit in and you're going to feel like you belong, but you really are not. And so I think it comes down to that, correct?
Yes. I'm having so many thoughts. I'll just say this. A really nice practice is to slow down and put attention on how can I belong to myself, and how I belong to myself. Like what that means to me is that I make a promise to myself. And I also make a promise that if I break the promise, I'm going to forgive myself and get back on the wagon. But the promise is I'm not going to leave me. I'm not going to abandon myself. I'm not going to put myself down if I don't do it perfect, if I do make a mistake, if I do say the wrong thing, that the belonging starts here. I go first.
And that's not being selfish. And that is actually self-care. It's not going to the spa. A lot of people think that that's what it is, self-care, but I am a true believer that self-care is exactly what you just said. Loving yourself, accepting yourself, being kind to yourself, nourishing yourself, and that's the kind of mom I am. I remember when my kids were teenagers and I got them membership for Massage Envy, and everybody was like, you got your daughters a membership? And I go, yes, because I want them to learn since they're young that taking care of themselves, if they want to go get a massage, it's not selfish. It's not, how are you doing that for you when there is so many people that doesn't have money or whatever, and because people like to take you that way. But I wanted them to learn that you got to give yourself care, which is not the same as self-love. Self-love is loving yourself, accepting yourself, nourishing yourself. But self-care, go to a spa, go do your nails, have those moments, buy the purse that you always wanted to buy. What do you care what anybody else is saying? Do what you wanted to do. I always said, you always got to have your three piles. What you owe, what you have to pay, when you have to save and you find money. But having said that, because I want to teach them also about money, take care of yourself, indulge yourself. Oh, and I have a 32-year-old that lives now in Miami, and she'll call me and she goes, I'm going to get a massage and then I'm going to go do my nails and then I'm going to the beach by myself. And I love that for her. I love that she's comfortable with herself, that she doesn't need the noise, that she doesn't need the acceptance. She doesn't need everybody telling her this is good or this is bad. She knows what she needs here in her brain and here in her heart. And I think that's how we change the world, teaching every mom, actually, for me, because those are the ones that are teaching their kids, and so I love what you just said, because it's so important to learn to nourish ourselves, and to put ourselves as a priority and put the mask like in the plane first on us. And if people doesn't like it, then people doesn't like it. You gotta be authentic, because you gotta like yourself. You cannot like another version of yourself that is not who you are. Because again, where are you gonna end up? What is your better version gonna look if you're not authentic right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think also to what you said, That's power. Being real gives you power. And it's
Yeah.
very attractive, not just for love, but for the friends that you really want to be with, or the money and the abundance that you really want to experience. You know, we like to be around people that are comfortable in their own skin and
Yeah.
aren't afraid to say, this is what I like and this is what I don't like. And these are my imperfections. And I love those too.
What are the things you do to love yourself?
Oh my gosh, Claudia, I have a schedule I love. So as you know, I don't meet with clients before noon, and I love my clients. I love slow mornings. I fill my mornings with I sit outside, I meditate, I do yoga. I recently started playing the piano. I snuggle with the doggy. I hang out with my husband. We snuggle. I mean,
Mm.
whatever. I just fill that time. So the way I spend my time is a way that I love myself. Another way is that I frequently check in and ask, am I having a good time? Is this what I really want? Or I'll slow down and I will actually ask myself, what's the most loving thing I can do for myself now or today? I
Mm.
actually ask because I think, self-love can quickly turn into a platitude and just like words that feel foofy. And so
Yeah.
I think it's really important for each of us to tune into, well, what would it look like for me? Maybe it's not the same as you or your best friend or your daughter or your sister or your mother. It's really important to go in and see and ask and be curious. If I were really loving myself, what would I change around in my life? I bought this giant whiteboard and colored dry erase markers, and I find that it's a fun way it's just a different version of journaling. It just feels big and freeing. And one day I wrote at the top, I give myself everything I want because I love myself. And I just started letting myself, what's the truth about what I want?
Right.
Or Rachel Rogers, who is wonderful. She wrote a book called We Should All Be Millionaires. It's a great book. And she has this exercise, and I love to share it with people. And basically, it's just between you and you. You don't have to share it with anyone. You don't have to tell anybody. What
Mhm.
you write down in your journal or on a piece of paper. If I were being a bad girl, I would, and and look at the list. And the fascinating thing is that when we look at our lists, we will be so thrilled and surprised to see how many of those things are actually not bad, how legitimate those things are,
Yeah.
but we haven't been letting ourselves actually see that it's what we wanted.
Wow. And I love that you're talking about good girls. I'm working on my TED Talk, and the title is I Was Never the Good Girl My Mom Wanted Me to Be. And it had taken me through a rabbit hole at times because I grew up thinking that I had to be certain way to be a good girl. And I married the person they wanted me to marry, and I lived the life they wanted me to live. And I did a lot of things that were not aligned with myself. And what I was going to ask you when you were talking, when I interrupted you, was that calling comes from here or from here? Because I was very much in my head, although my heart was aching. And I remember my dad saying to me, you think with your heart and you feel with you think with your head and you feel with your heart, because when you make a decision with your heart, it's going to be an emotional decision. And I ran with that for a long time. And I have learned that in some moments in my life, I need to think with my heart and go with that. Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that all those beliefs of being a good girl is part of the domestication that we go through when we're kids. And we take those ideas and beliefs as facts. And if we don't fit in those ideas, we're not a good girl. And that haunted me for years. For years, I wanted to be that good girl because for me, that meant, oh my God, I'm gonna get emotional. Sorry. For me, that meant I'm gonna be loved and I'm gonna be
Exactly.
accepted.
That's exactly right. And those, like the tears that you're feeling it's like that sadness, but also it's like the
Mm.
loss and the grief, and also like the healing of the realization of both. And that's exactly why we become good girls. We want to be loved, we want to be seen, we want to be accepted. And it's for such good reason.
Yeah, yeah.
There's so much innocence in it.
It's so sad because to an extent, I think we grieve that person that we're not anymore. Because it's kind of like, I don't remember Stockholm syndrome, when you don't run away from the person that kidnapped you. because
Yes.
you somehow you feel safe, although you know you're not. I went through that myself. I was attached to that good girl that was an imaginary good girl, because really, if I think about it, it's not that she was a bad girl, but she was a very unhappy girl.
Right.
So I grieve that girl so much. And in the same token, I would like to go back in time and give her a hug and tell her it's okay, you're enough. I don't care what they think, I don't care what they want. You get to be yourself. And yourself is much, much better than that version of yourself that you're trying to create just to feel loved and accepted and worthy. And oftentimes I see in my clients, I see me in them. I see me in them 20, 30 years ago. And I literally get up and give them a hug. And I'm like, you are worthy. You are enough. You don't have to be anybody that you don't want to be, because you're already amazing the way you are. We just need to dig in to get that woman out of that shelf that you have created to camouflage that good girl that you believe you have to be.
One of the things that helps speed up that healing, I think, is to do just a few things that are really bad. You know what I mean? We can go back. We can actually close our eyes and see that little one that was just working so hard to do it right and to be good and be perfect, and hug her. And then we can open our eyes in present time and ask ourselves, all right, well, what's a rule, like a rule, quote unquote rule that
Yeah,
we've given ourselves that
yeah,
we can just freaking break right now and break it?
yeah, yeah. It's crazy when I think. My husband sometimes says to me, "You have lived so many lives, because there are so many versions of myself, and I honor all of them because I'm here because of them. The insecure, the afraid, the rebel, the whatever. Those versions of me are inside of me, and I honor them and I love them, but I also grieve them. And it's like, oh, honey, I'm sorry you had to go through that. It's
Absolutely.
so hard sometimes to be humans.
It is.
And talking about hard, sometimes we believe that if something comes easy for us, it's not worth it. Like I said
That
it
is the rule
sometimes.
worth breaking. That
Oh
is one of
my
those rules
God.
I'm talking
And
about.
and you know what? I say that sometimes to my kids when they can, and shame on me. I say that to my girls sometimes.
Hang on, hang
Um,
on, hang on. Not shame on you. Love, love, love on
love,
you.
love.
See the innocence of where that comes from, because you lived it.
Yeah. And I say things like, you're going to appreciate it more because it was so hard for you to get it. And I had
Uh,
those experiences that something was so hard that, and then I have to convince myself if that would be easy, it would not be worth it. But I, I have learned that rule doesn't apply with everything. There are going to be things that are going to come easy to you because you're going to attract them. You're going to be that magnet. And it's okay to enjoy them and embrace them, even if they came easy. Not everything that is
exactly.
worth it is going to be hard.
This is so important. This was part of that's actually something that happened when I was writing the book. So that
Mm-hmm.
I was on a walk. It was a beautiful day. I knew I got the idea of what I wanted to give to the world. Like, what's something I could give to the world? If there was one message or lesson I could give, what would it be? And it would be to like actually know what self-love really is and how to do it. And all of the information in the book came very quickly. And I had the most fun writing the book and drawing the pictures. And it was so easy that I started to feel scared because I was afraid if it was easy that it wouldn't be valuable. And that's when I had this great realization that what if how easy something is and how valuable something is have no relationship?
Right.
What if how easy it is contributes to how valuable it is? And
Yeah.
then all these incredible things happen with the book. And so, yes, sometimes working hard feels great, but working hard does not need to be connected to our deservability, our worth, or what we get for what we do. It should
Mm-hmm.
be about, or it could be simply about the value that we deliver. And if it's easy and fun and wonderful to deliver high value, then we're in the sweet spot. That's actually our zone of genius, are the things that we do that we love doing and we're so good at, and it's so helpful to somebody else.
Yeah. And this is exactly how I found my niche because I was coaching women. I've been coaching for over 15 years. And I went from single moms to women that were stuck and it was a process. And somebody said to me, I don't know why you just don't coach moms. I mean, that's your high. You can talk about parenting until you're blue in your face. Why you don't do? And I didn't think it was valuable because it was so easy for me. So I have to be a different niche when it's a little harder and I have to get trainings and I spend ridiculous amount of money hiring coaches that would teach me what was my niche and why I had to coach people doing whatever it was. And it was all connected to abundance. So I was being an abundance coach, but it was a different kind of abundance in different areas until I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, what are you doing? Your high is talking to moms and giving tools. And I was pushed into a marriage when I was very young. And I went through a lot of infertility. I mean, he beat me up and I lost the baby and I couldn't have more kids. And it was very hard. And I ran with that conviction that I will never be a mom. And then suddenly I went through a treatment. I got pregnant. So now I know how it is. And then I went through infertility treatments for my second one. And then my third one was a surprise. And then I was a single mom. And then, so it's like so many different parts of motherhood that I can be aligned with my clients. When somebody asks me, well, what age is your client? I don't know. It's a mom. It could be at 19 or it can be 40. It could be dealing with their kids when they're little or they're teenagers. I am here to support you and help you find your identity, find that woman that is buried until that heart of motherhood, and find out that you're still there because you didn't stop being a person, a woman, because you became a mom. And finding that was an enlightenment on its own for me, but it came so easy that I was afraid. So I pushed it and pushed it and pushed. No, that's too easy for me. I have to find a different niche. No, that's just not what I know. I can talk about parenting or whatever. In the meantime, I'm writing children's books. I'm writing children's journals. I'm writing all that stuff. So it's like kind of like, I don't know, that story of the guy that is drowning and she says, God, please save me. And God sent him a boat and a helicopter and whatever. And then the guy dies and goes to heaven and says to God, why you didn't help me? He said, well, I sent you all these signs. You just didn't see them. I felt like, oh my gosh, this is me. I get all these signs and I keep saying, no, this is too easy. I got to look for something harder because it's going to be more valuable. And it's not necessarily that way,
It's
but it
not that
is
way at all.
yeah, yeah. It's so crazy how our mind works.
Yes.
And we attach that thought with a feeling. So do you think we can manage our emotions?
Of course. I mean, you stumbled on something so beautiful. And so I just want to say it out loud for all of us because it isn't about the details. These are your gorgeous details that are authentic to you. The thing that I think is universal inside of the story is if something is easy and it feels really good and it also feels like a hell yes inside, it's probably a good idea. I mean,
It's an energy thing. Right.
yeah, it's as simple as that, that easy is one of the components of abundance, of a hell yes, that you're on the right track. And I think your story is so beautiful and you've been through so much, so you can relate to so much and you have so much compassion for people who've been through all those things, which also makes me want to say out loud, because I think the word mom has been said probably like, I don't know how many times it's been said just in our time together. And so I just want to say that I don't have children. I'm married to my husband. We have 2 cats and a dog. And I had many miscarriages. And I feel for me, thank you. I feel my story is that of walking through the like cultural indoctrination of our value is in being a mother as women. You know what I mean? Our the normal thing is to be a mother, and if you aren't one, you're missing like out in life. And so
Right.
I feel together we're like a circle holding all the women and saying, wherever you are, if you have children, yes. If you don't have children, yes. If you wanted children and weren't able to have them, yes. If you didn't want children and you don't have them, yes. Like all women are included. And on
Yeah.
some level, I also believe as women, we are actually all built to mother in some way. And I
Yes.
know for me, you know, I work with a lot of women who were not well mothered. And it is one of my greatest graces in life to help women mother themselves and give them everything they ever wanted in life when they were a child and as an adult that they ever wanted now.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I think as coaches, in a way, we give that nurturing to our clients. We play that role in certain times of the mom. Let me help you. Let me guide you. Let me teach you. Let me show you the tools that you already have in your toolbox. And maybe you don't notice them, but they're there. And I see that. I remember when my kids were adults, my husband said to me, "What are you going to do now that they don't need you anymore?" And I'm like, "What? Of course they're going to need me." But then I find not exactly the same joy, but a very similar joy when I help my clients, because even though I'm not their mother, a lot of characteristics of being a mom comes in the coaching. Although you didn't have kids, and I had many years of trying. I mean, my first daughter was, I couldn't even believe it that I had my first daughter, because they have told me already, you will never have a kid. He was very abusive, so I lost it. And that for me was horrible, because I thought I will never have a kid. This is it. And after a lot of treatments and a lot of many more miscarriages, I had my daughter, and my first daughter. And then I had IUIs with my second one. I had a couple that, and then my surprise baby, my Sophia. But I had a moment when I thought I wasn't going to. And I had to go through accepting that and find within me how other way I can mother, how other way I can give all this love that I have. If it's not going to be to a kid, how can I give it to other people that need it? And I'm tapping into that now that I'm an empty nester and my kids are adults, because I feel that when I am with my clients, that mother in me comes out. I'm sure with you too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, we love not having children, and we our life is we're the children. So it worked out correctly for me. And
Yeah.
I think that it worked out correctly for you. And I think when everything, we can always ask what is the blessing here? What is the unasked for desire that is actually being met here? And for anyone listening, if you can relate to Claudia, or you can relate to me, or you can relate to a completely different story that isn't either of these stories, you know, we make up such a beautiful mosaic of, we all go through our own experiences of motherhood with or without children, as daughters, as women, as adults. But I do think that a common theme, to bring it back to self-love, is to give yourself the love in whatever way you can that you always wanted. And in doing so, not only do we mother ourselves, but we mother the planet in the healthiest, most encouraging and empowering way. Not like in a babying way, but in an actual uplifting, empowering manner.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can talk to you for the next 3 hours, but I don't think anybody's gonna listen that long to us. Like, you guys, go have a coffee. I appreciate you being here. I wanted to talk about so many other things with you too. Actually, funny thing, I heard that you have an improv theater
Yes.
in your house, and that's how I started. I started
Not in
doing
my
so,
house.
not in your house. Okay,
We have an
but you
actual
have one.
theater that's on a street.
I love that. But I started as an actress. I did soap operas when I was 17, but I started by going to improv theater. And for me was so healing to just pretend, but also allow my emotions to come out. I asked you earlier if you can choose your emotions, because I believe we can. but I wanted to see your point of view on that, because I believe that our thought creates our emotions. And if we can choose our thoughts, then we can choose our emotions. What do you think?
I think it isn't black and white. I think that we naturally feel things, and it's okay to feel anything and everything. And if we can slow down, we may see that our thoughts choose our emotions, although they're actually doing studies now that show that there's something going on biologically that's creating our emotions, that there's other stimulus aside from our thinking. But to me, I think it's more empowering to assume that our thinking is creating our emotions, not so that we feel any kind of shame or guilt when we're feeling something that we would prefer not to feel, but to allow ourselves to feel empowered that if we're feeling something that we don't like, to actually let go of the resistance or the judgment on it and just actually let yourself feel it and let it move through, and then start thinking a better feeling thought, one better feeling thought at a time. And through that, we can lift ourselves up and feel something different.
I love that. And some happy music and laughs, that always helps.
Yes. Yes. Dance, chocolate, a hug, nature.
I love that. I love that. I love to laugh. I love to laugh. And I change my mood with music. Like, if I recognize that I am in a place in my life, and in my head and in my heart, that when I feel I'm starting to go down, because I know the signs, I help myself. I play music. I see something funny. Sometimes my husband will say, what are you laughing? And I said, I needed to laugh for a minute. So I go on Instagram, whatever, and I look for something funny that would actually, you remember when you're an actress, you do the exercise with the stomach that you make yourself laugh. I do
Yes.
that. I literally do that. And I started laughing, and I think my brain doesn't know any better. So it sees me laughing, and it's like, oh, well, I guess we're going to shift. I think we have so many tools, so many things that we can do to help ourselves. I don't believe in a God that make mistakes. So I think we're perfect the way we are. We just need to dig in a little more and find our talents. And that's that.
I agree.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I love talking to you. I have watched you a couple of times in other interviews, and I was like, oh my gosh, I so much want to have a chat with her. So I am very happy that you came.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you for having me.
Thank you all for listening to the Don't Shrink to Fit podcast. If you like this episode, please write a juicy comment below and subscribe to my podcast. Remember, we can only fly if we embrace each other. Until next week, be happy, be safe, and be kind to yourself.